Selling a house boils down to two major things. It's price and presentation. And in this video, I'll break down everything in detail so that way you're able to sell your home without a realtor. Before we get into the video, my name is Andres Quiroz. I'm a realtor and real estate investor here in Tucson, Arizona. And if you want to get a hold of me, all my information is in the description down below. Now let's get into the first step. Step number one is fix up the house. You can sell a house three ways. As is, but typically you'll get below market value. Number two is with minor improvements, or number three, a full rehab. And the way you want to determine what you want to do is kind of just based upon your budget. If you want to sell the house as is, this takes no money and you just list the house in its current condition. But I want to remind you, you will get below market value. Or number two is doing the minor improvements. The way you want to look at it is when you walk into your home, what are the immediate things that just stand out? It can be a broken tile, it can be peeling paint, just things that you know the buyer will immediately look at and find as soon as they walk into your home. One of the best things you could do is have like a friend or a family member go into the property and just kind of see what catches their eye and what they would want in the house fixed before they buy the house. Another thing in regards to the minor improvements is the bank will call major things out. So you want to take care of any water damage, any molds especially, any peeling paint. You want to avoid wood to earth contact. These are just some things that you want to take care of up front before the bank goes out there and appraises the house and calls it out for you. The third thing is the full rehab. Now this does take some time and I wouldn't do it unless you know what you're doing. However, if you have a house that's in like distressed condition, you can take the time and the investment in capital to invest the money and sell it for full market value. However, that will take anywhere from 2 to 4 months depending on who you hire. And the way you determine which three things you want to do, whether it's as is, minor improvements, or full rehab, is to see what houses are selling for the area, which is step number 2, is doing a comparable market analysis. This is called a CMA, it's a fancy word for just seeing what houses are selling for in the area. The first thing you'll do is what are houses selling for as is? So you can go on Zillow and you can see what houses are selling for in the current condition your house is in. And then you'll see, for example, oh, a house in this condition sells for $150. And then you'll see 3 common houses within the same square footage, beds and bath, and then general lot size or garage that are selling for the price as is. The second thing is you'll see the houses that are with minor improvements. Not like a full rehab, but some paint, some drywall repairs, some cabinets that are fixed or partly painted as well. You'll see what houses are selling for in the same condition with the minor improvements that you have made to your property. And the third thing is the full rehab. The way you want to do it is the last two things is you want to go ahead and pull up the houses that are fully renovated. And you'll see they'll sell, for example, $200K that are fully renovated. Now you can determine all those things. So as is 150, minor improvements is 175, and then full rehab is 200K. Knowing the value in each 3 categories for the 150 as is, and then the 175 with minor improvements, and then the 200K for rehab will help you determine which 3 routes you want to go. And the easiest one to do, to be honest, if you don't want to go ahead and become a project manager or a GC, is doing the minor improvements. It's just hiring a handyman to do the basic things, and you shouldn't spend no more than $5K if you want to do this. Remember, it's like the peeling paint, the tile that's broken, some cabinets that need to be painted, outside, maybe just fixing the fascia, and anything that you know will stand out to the buyer that when they come in, they'll see. Step number 3, once you decided what you want to do, whether it's as is, minor improvements, or full rehab, and then you determine what you could sell it for, you are starting the process, whether it being as is, minor improvements, or full rehab. Once you're done with that whole process and you're getting ready to list the house, you want to remove all clutter. This is so important because as a buyer, when they're looking at the property, they want to see it and they want to envision their furniture in the property. So if you have a bunch of items just laying around on the pantry, on the counters, in the bedrooms, it just looks messy. And you don't want to sell a messy house. Because remember in the beginning I said, houses don't sell for 2 reasons. It's price and presentation. You want to make it as presentable as possible for the prospective buyer to come into your house and buy it. And the way I look at selling a house is I want to make it as most convenient as possible for the buyer to come in and buy your house. If I can make it easier for the buyer to choose my house, I'll sell my house faster and for more, which is what you want to do with no realtor. Also included in presentation is how the house smells. What I do for my flips and any houses I'm listing is I get Febrezes and I put them all throughout the house. What I also do is I make sure I get a deep cleaning in the house done before I put it on the market. The last thing I'll do is a nice curb appeal because remember, first impression is everything. Like presentation, like I said again, is everything. You want to make sure there's weeds that are cut out. you want to make sure that everything in the front and the backyard is fully cleaned out, and inside is cleaned out as well. So if you have the curb appeal done right, the inside done right, the backyard done right, and all the clutter is removed, and you're priced well, your house will sell pretty fast. Now, step number 4, this is a crucial step that you cannot skip this forward, is invest in high quality photos. The way you want to look at this is if you're looking to buy a house in Tucson, wherever you're at, is you're most likely going to be going on Zillow and looking at these houses. If you see a house, and I'll put up an example of poor quality photos, it's first impression, like I said earlier in the video. You want your houses to stand out with the best photos, with the best lighting, with no clutter, it being nicely staged and look clean. Because if someone can look at the property on Zillow and see that it's presentable, the chances of you getting an offer at a higher price and having more bids will be higher. In Tucson, for my photos, they cost anywhere from 150 to 250 bucks. It's super important. Do not use your iPhone camera. Do not personally take them yourself unless you know how to do it. Invest 150 to 250 in the photos, because I promise you, that'll help you a lot, and it'll help you get more showings and sell your house fast. So please, please, please do not skip this step, because it is very, very important. So now we've covered step 1, deciding how you want to do it sold as is, minor improvements, for rehab, and then doing a CMA, which is a comparable market analysis, and then doing the right photos. Now we're on step number 5. This is listing the house on the market. The way I do it for all of my listings and all the houses I'm flipping is I get a checklist of everything I want done. So when you're selling your property, you're gonna need a property disclosure. This is like the last 10 years, if you've owned it for 10 years, or if you inherited a property, of everything you know, and disclose everything you can when doing this process, because that way you won't be held liable for anything you did not disclose, because you disclose everything to the buyer up front. Second thing is the clue report. You can just call your insurance company and get a letter of experience to see if there's any claims being made to the property in the last 5 years. Third thing is list of improvements. If you decided to go with the full rehab route, you want to detail everything you made as far as improvements to the property, so that way the buyer can see what you did. Or if you're selling it as is, obviously you won't need this stuff because you're selling it as is. The fourth thing is invoices paid. The buyer will feel much more comfortable if you're able to provide an invoice of the AC paid, of the roof paid, plumbing paid, any larger items that are done, the buyer would like to see it. Also, most of the times, these companies who are doing these things can provide you with a warranty, and that warranty can be transferable to the new buyer. For example, for one of my flips, if I do a termite treatment, that termite treatment is transferable and the warranty is transferable to the new buyer. So if there's any termites that are caught within 5 years, that buyer can call the termite company who did the work and get it done at their cost, because they have a warranty for 5 years. Included also in step number 5 is when you want to list your house. Ideally, I list my house on a Wednesday, and I don't allow showings till Saturday, which is like the open houses. The reason I do this is because if you list it on Friday and market the open house for the following day, it only gives the buyers roughly 12 hours to prepare for the open house. But if you list it on a Wednesday and you advertise the open house on the Saturday and allow no showings till that Saturday, Thursday and Friday will have been advertised, and that way Saturday you have back-to-back showings. And all the buyers in the area who are looking at your house will see other buyers looking at the house as well, which will put some fear into them, which will cause them to make an offer faster, because they do not lose out on your house. Step number 6, reviewing all offers. This is the checklist I use to review all of my offers right now for all of my current listings. And I look at the lender, who the lender is, and I like to call them to see if they submitted their work history, if they ran their credit report, and they have sourced their down payment. Included in also the offer, once you qualify the lender and verify that the borrower can afford your house, is how much earnest money they're depositing, when's the close of escrow, the total down payment, as I said earlier, who their title company is, and if there's anything in the contract that just looks as a red flag. There's a lot of red flags, so I can't go into in this video, but the major ones are a contingent offer. This means that the buyer has to sell a house somewhere else in the US before they buy my house, which I do not like that, because if the house up in Montana falls out of contract, that means they can no longer buy my house. So ideally, I would like to come up with a creative plan to see how the buyer can buy my house without selling their house up in Montana first. The second red flag is an inconsistent work history. If the lender sees that they have an inconsistent work history, the underwriters who are underwriting these buyers will cause that to be a red flag, and there'll be constant delays as well. The third red flag is low earnest money amount. The earnest money is really important to me because this shows that the buyer is really interested in making an offer towards me. The higher the earnest money, the better for me because it shows the buyer is invested in buying my property. One of the other red flags is if you're accepting an offer for a buyer who's getting a loan, is the lender in Arizona must give you a LSU, which is like a loan status update, within 10 days when you're under contract. This will show that the buyer has gone through all the conditions met and is going to be able to get qualified for your house. If the lender is not on time and is not giving you this documentation, it's a red flag because they're probably struggling with the file. And in real estate, whenever you're under contract for a house, you want to know as many red flags up front so that way you can get addressed right away. Step number 7 is negotiating the repair request. In this process, the buyer will submit to you a list of all the repairs they want done in the house before getting the keys. You as a seller do not have to do anything, but I like to negotiate because if you do not do anything, most likely the buyer will cancel, and you do not want to cancel the deal. You want to go ahead and create a solution for both parties to go ahead and keep the deal moving forward. What I like to do is I like to call the agent right away as soon as I get it and say, hey, Mrs. Agent, what are the top 3 things your client wants done in this property? And what are the non-negotiables that they absolutely want done in this inspection period and in this process, or else they'll cancel? If the buyer submits 20 things that they want done, me making that phone call will automatically knock down 17 things, which saves me time, and time is money, guys. Once the buyer's agent tells me those 3 things that the buyer wants done for the process of that house, what I like to do is I go and negotiate those 3 things with my vendors to see how low of a cost I can get those done. Most of the time, if you go back to the agent and says, hey, I'll be able to do these top 2 things, they'll most likely accept it. Because if you did the right improvements up front for the minor and full rehab, you shouldn't have to be dealing with all this stuff during your inspection period. And if you are, most of the time is the vendors you hire to do the work, they not do a good job. Last but not least is the appraisal. This is when the bank will go out to your house and make sure it's truly worth what you are selling it for. Now, if you do not have experience with dealing with appraisals, it can be very tough because let's just say you're under contract for $200K and the bank says it's worth only $180. There's a $20K difference in spread that you may lose if you do not know how to negotiate with the appraisal the right way. Remember, before you list the house, I told you to do a list of improvements and invoices paid before listing the property. What you want to do is the bank will call you and say, hey, Mrs. John, I'm coming to your house on Main Street to make sure it's worth what it's worth. You want to hand those repairs over to the appraiser. That way they see if you did some work up front to the house. This will be very, very crucial. You also want to do the CMA. Remember you did the CMA on step number 2? You want to give that CMA to the appraisal plus list of improvements so that way they see your house is truly worth what you are selling it for, which is $200K. Once you do this, the house should appraise. But if it does not appraise, if it appraises for $180 instead of $200, you want to fight the appraisal. And I'll put a description down below of how you can fight your appraisal if it does come low. However, it's a lengthy process, but that's a whole other video we'll get into, but that checklist should help you out with at least fighting the appraisal. So now we've gone through the whole process of you selling your house on your own without a realtor. Now you might think, Andres, this is pretty exhausting. There's a lot of things being done in the middle. That's why you should give me a call and hire me. I can buy your house fast, as is, for cash within 10 or less days. That way you don't have to do anything at all, no improvements, no rehab, and just selling it as is. Or if you want to maximize the amount of money you're getting and you want me to consult and give you an idea what I can do for you and help you sell your house, go ahead and give me a call and go ahead and click on the website down below, and I'd love to help you out.